Now it's time to wind up day 3 of creation with trees, plants. We all know this. And ding, 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 the Garden of Eden. Yes, it's planted on day 3, not in the second week. No, now. That is a recap in Genesis 2, and we're going to cover that in detail. Don't worry. We will put this all on a timeline, and we'll even chart Genesis 2 at the end of this series. You'll see it'll all make sense. Now, the garden had an incredible amount of detail, which, well, we've already covered in our Find the Garden of Eden series. I don't even know how many videos are in there, but probably more than 30. And yes, we do locate it in the Philippines very conclusively. After over 6 years, no one has been able to remotely challenge these conclusions, nor will they. They stand even more firm today than when we began. So let's get started. Genesis 1:11 from the KJV. And Elohim said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind." Remember, that's always in Scripture throughout creation. Trees are to, animals are to reproduce after our kind. No mixing of kinds, okay? Doesn't work. Whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. Now we go to Jubilees 2:7 for a witness to Genesis. What does this really mean? Let's see. Continuing the third day, we already covered the first part. And the seed which is sown, and all sprouting things, and fruit-bearing trees, and trees of the wood. We have affirmation there, same as Genesis, right? Second Esdras 6:44. For immediately there was great and innumerable fruit, and many and diverse pleasures for the taste, and flowers of unchangeable color, and odors of wonderful smell. Wow, that's a phenomenal way to put it there, Ezra, the prophet. Notice he is clarifying for us all that all trees of origin were created this day. Boom. For creation is over the 6 days period. Even Eve is not created in the second week. No, she's formed, but she was already created with Adam on day 6. We're going to cover that when we get to day 6. It will make sense. Now, there is no second week of Genesis, but let's keep reading. Genesis 1:12. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God, Elohim, saw that it was good. Okay, notice that Yahuwah kept seeing all the way through that it was good, but remember that he recaps in the end, all of creation is good. Everything, even the firmament, and there's no saying it's bad, it's no saying it's temporary. But let's look at a witness here, Jubilees 2:7. And the Garden of Eden in Eden, and all plants after their kind. Wow. So the Garden of Eden was planted when? On day 3, not the second week. That's not a creation. Creation is over at that point. I've even heard from the pulpit some saying, that Yahuwah would create them, right in front of Adam's eyes, and then boom, Adam would name him. He'd create, Adam would name him. He'd create, Adam would name him. That's just not true. That's not what the text says. It sounds really cool, but, well, it's not cool because it's not true. So if all the plants and trees were created on day 3, and indisputably they were, the Garden of Eden would have to be, really. I mean, doesn't that just make common sense? Basically, here, Jubilees lays this out directly, so we don't have to guess. We don't have to even use common sense. We can just read it. The garden was not created in week 2, but here on day 3. The same day that the rivers from Eden, we already covered, were carved out of what we call the ocean floor, as their purpose was to water the garden. See, the two are tied together. You can't really separate them in concept. Now Genesis 1:13 wraps up, and the evening and the morning were the third day. We've covered that. Yes, this again is the end of the day cycle. Don't forget, he created light and called it day first. So the first part of creation is daytime, and this whole compartment here, evening and morning, equals nighttime, and total together they equal a 24-hour literal day. We've proven that. Go back and watch that in the series. It's there. Yahuwah began as on each of these days creating in the morning, and really that's never been up for debate. And any scholar that says otherwise really truly cannot read. That's it. He did not need the sun yet to tell what time it was. Remember who he is? The notion that he would need that undermines whom he is. Those that do that, they don't even understand that he is the creator. A terrible question from scoffers, well, who just don't even know him, likely. Now, Jubilees 2:2 wraps up, enumerating the works of this day, which we're going to cover next. These four great works, we'll cover them, Elohim created on the third day. We love Jubilees because it's the history book. It is absolutely the history book of the Bible. Why on earth would anyone try to get rid of it, especially when it's called, labeled, used as Torah by the temple priests, quoted by Moses in Genesis, quoted by Joshua and Samuel? Hello, that's called Torah. Now, we'll list these next, though. Hang on. And then 2nd Esdras ends up 644 here, and this was done the third day. There you go. We have covered this in the last few videos, so I'll bring it all together now. The four great works from these last few videos of creation on day 3 are the bodies of waters in the form of mega rivers from Eden, basically, the rivers from Eden, far beyond what we call a river today, and they have to be, as well as some lakes or sea basins, as we call them, and certainly some other lakes that form in the mountains, hole in the ground, and there's water, and it fills. Yeah, that happens. But no rivers. Nope, sorry. There's no rainfall. There's some mist that comes up from the earth, okay? But bear in mind, those lakes were formed, once again, when Yahuwah separated the waters on the earth, and some went in, and then others actually remained residual, okay? So there's some of those. Again, that's all fresh water to begin with, but as the waters come up into the rivers from Eden, the rivers themselves are salty because the water comes through rock, bringing and introducing salt into the waters. So there was a salt water and a freshwater system before the flood. Someone asked about, how do the freshwater, saltwater fish live if it's one or the other? It's both already at that point. That's really not an issue. There was no world ocean before the flood. We've covered that. Ezra says only 15% of the earth was water then. We covered. The mist, number 2, or dew, that comes up from the earth to water the face of the earth. There was no rain before the flood. Plants and trees, okay, all in one. Number 3, and everything born of seeds, really. As far as fauna and plants are concerned. And then, number 4, the Garden of Eden. Boom. So what is the Garden of Eden? Much more than just a garden, that's for sure. And this is extensive. We're just going to cover this in brief in this video and then move on to day 4. Why? Because we have a whole huge series on the Garden of Eden already. Watch it for detail. Genesis 2:8 gives more detail on the garden, but when was it planted? Well, on day 3 of creation, not in the second week, because Genesis 2 is not the second week until it gets to Eve. And that's really just the forming of Eve. It was already there then at that point. And Yahuwah Elohim planted a garden eastward in Eden. Now we've covered that preposition there, and it is not specifically eastward in or inside of Eden. It is eastward or to the east of Eden in Hebrew. We covered that in that series. Go watch that. We're not going to recover that here, though we will get into it a little, but we're not getting into that. And there he put the man whom he had formed. And when did that happen? Not yet. And out of the ground made Yahuwah Elohim to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight. When did that happen? That happened on day 3. We know that. And good for food. The tree of life also, that was planted on day 3, in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil, also in the garden and planted on day 3. And by the way, how long until Adam was taken into the garden? Do we know that? Absolutely 100%, thanks to the book of Jubilees. 40 days later. Not right away. So this is not a passage about the second week, because it fast forwards, it goes backwards. It's just giving the account details, that's all. How long was Adam in the garden? There's a question. Who knows that? From Answers in Jubilees, 7 years exactly. We covered that in that series. Watch it. Satan, who was already a guardian cherub in the garden, decided to approach Eve on Sin Day. That's right, the original Sin Day is Sunday. How about that? As far as weekdays are concerned, no, Sunday's not a bad day, but this is fact. The day after the Sabbath, and actually the first day after the Sabbath year, is when Satan came to tempt Eve. How about that? He knew what he was doing. This would be the same day that the flood erupted over 1,000 years later. Wow. I mean, it's amazing how the Bible ties things like this together. What is the significance, though, of the Garden of Eden? Let's deal with that in this video and some of the basic details. Why is it so special? Much more than a garden, my friends. This is so cool. Jubilees 8:19. And he, that's Noah, in his division where he gave this portion to Shem, and he divided the earth 3 ways between his 3 sons. He only had 3, and that's how you do it. He inherited the earth, so he then passed the inheritance on, and he was very, very detailed about it. Watch Answers in Jubilees, or get our book, the publishing book of Jubilees.org. It's available free in ebook, and you got to check out that mapping. It is amazing. I can't believe no one's ever mapped it before that we can find until us, but you know what? It's done now. It's the oldest map of the world, with Enoch really being older, but not quite a complete map like Noah did. This was incredible. And he knew that the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies and the dwelling of Yahuwah. Whoa! How about that? Say what? Well, what about Israel? Well, that was a temporary temple to house Yahuwah's presence, his physical presence, in the Ark of the Covenant for a very temporary period, which Yahuwah knew was going to be the case. He even said so in prophecy. And he was there with them even 40 years, in fact, in the Holy of Holies, before they even entered Israel. So it's not an Israel thing, it's a people of Israel thing. And you got to follow the people of Israel, because they're not in modern Israel. And we prove that overwhelmingly. Watch Gog of Magog, watch Psalm 83 War, watch Answers in 2nd Esdras, watch Origin of the Word Jew, and I could go on and on. Our entire Lost Tribes series locates Israel, true Israel, and they're not in the land of Israel today. They don't return yet, according to prophecy, until the end. And the end has not happened yet. And remember this is the permanent Holy of Holies that will be reopened to all of us in the last days. Wow. Yes, the Garden of Eden and the Tree of Life are there in Revelation, still existing. They didn't go anywhere. Watch, is the garden still there? We prove that out in Scripture massively abundantly. And Mount Sinai, the center of the desert, and Mount Zion, the center of the navel of the earth. Now, we believe that is the North Pole in the biblical mindset, which places that in the center of the flat, round disk, basically, surface. They define the border of Shem here. North Pole to Saudi Arabia to the Philippines, which is the land of the Garden of Eden, and then back to the North Pole. If you look at that, pretty much, it's pretty easy to see, principally, that's what we call Asia. And is there confirmation for the garden being in the Holy of Holies, though? I mean, is that some strange concept that comes from Jubilees? Well, understand, number one, who wrote this part of Jubilees? Who wrote it? Moses wasn't around in the days of Noah. The angel of the presence did, likely Michael. But whichever one it was, there's 4 archangels of the presence. They wrote this as an eyewitness. Well, Genesis, for one, is also a witness to this, and also 1 Enoch. Let's see. In Genesis 3:8, this is a really awesome account, and they heard the voice of Yahuwah Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day. Wow. See? He resided there, and he still does in the Garden of Eden, which is within the earth, not up here on the surface. Can't be. This is why he protected for all future generations from men until the day of judgment. He protected the way of the tree of life. That's what it says. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence, yes, his physical presence was there in the garden because it is his holy of holies. It wasn't just some place on earth wherever you want to place it. It's very specific. It is an enclosed garden within the earth. We'll show you some things on that too. So, the presence of Yahuwah Elohim amongst the trees of the garden. His physical presence is there. And this is the Holy of Holies, the same. And where was he walking? Amongst the trees in the garden. Are these physical trees? Well, creation is about physical trees because that's what we see today are physical trees. They came from somewhere, right? I mean, there's so much confusion out there. I realize that. And some try to say, well, the trees are analogies of. Nope, that's stupid. Don't listen to people like that who can't read. The word for tree in Hebrew is tree. It is always tree, period. So, it needs to be accompanied by language that changes the word into an analogy, and in this case, it most certainly is not. Where is the Garden of Eden? Well, first, it's inside the earth, and we'll show you that. It's not up here in our level. Understand that. A lot of people don't get it. So when we say it's the Philippines, then they say, well, but the Philippines, it's a land of this and the land of that, and there's no way it could be the Garden of Eden because of blah, 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 blah. Wrong answer. Listen to what we say. It is unthinkable that Yahuwah would leave his Holy of Holies and the Tree of Life sitting out for modern corrupt man to toy with, and Scripture says he did not. So I don't know what part of that some don't get. And some of them call themselves scholars. But let's go back to the era before the flood. The prophet Enoch here is taken by angels inside the earth, and describes incredible detail of the inner workings of the earth, including he sees while he's there inside the earth the Garden of Eden. Now, we cover that in that series in great detail over multiple videos. We even map his journey around the earth. Don't miss it. That is really good. 1 Enoch 25:3, while inside the inner earth. Again, go back. You watch those videos. He's already defined that. All right, we're picking it up. And he answered, saying, this high mountain which thou hast seen, whose summit is like the throne of Elohim. I know it says like, right? No. Then it says, it is his throne. Okay? So, the one that looks like his throne is his throne. That's what Enoch says. Where the holy great one, Yahuwah of glory, the eternal king, will sit when he shall come down to visit the earth with goodness, which he does regularly. Now, where is that? In his Holy of Holies, of course, in the Garden of Eden. And next, he'll describe the tree of life, which is where? in the midst of the garden. Wow. And it still is. It didn't transplant to another plane of existence. It didn't move. It can't. And it's a ridiculous notion to say that it did, because New Jerusalem comes down from heaven, yes, but the tree of life isn't in it till it gets down. And then the tree of life will be in its midst. So it will come down above the Garden of Eden, the land of the garden, and for 2,000 kilometers by 2,000 kilometers. So it is a massive city. Those that try to say, oh, I think the end times have already happened. Oh, then show us that city that's 2,000 kilometers by 2,000 kilometers. I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it? I must have missed it, I guess. First Enoch 25, 4 and 5. And as for this fragrant tree, no mortal is permitted to touch it till the great judgment. No, it's not confusing Eve accidentally saying that you shall not eat or touch of it, which is not what they were commanded. But that's not what we're talking about. Enoch's talking after all of that happened. Understand that. So remember, Enoch's writing before the flood here, but long after the exile of Adam and Eve, who did eat of the tree of life in their day. They did touch it. This isn't talking about that. This is talking about the tree of life. This isn't talking about the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Some confuse that. This is the tree of life. Okay, that's not even what Eve was talking about. So don't confuse all of that. So basically, they were stopped from eating of the tree of life so that they would not live forever in sin. See? Now, when he shall take vengeance on all and bring everything to its consummation forever, by fire, of course, it shall then be given to the righteous and holy. There you go. The tree of life will be opened again. Oh, that's Revelation. So that's not a foreign concept to Scripture. Its fruit shall be for food to the elect. That's Revelation 2. So again, that's no stranger to Scripture. It shall be transplanted to the holy place. Actually, the holy place will come down, is how it works. That's what Scripture says abundantly, and it's very clear. And even Enoch says that. So let's be clear. To the temple of Yahuwah, the eternal King. So exact language here from 2nd Esdras as well as Revelation. Enoch is right on here. Is the tree literally moved? No. This is talking about New Jerusalem, which does the moving in the passage, both in Enoch and in Revelation especially. Just read Revelation 21. It's so super clear that New Jerusalem comes down. It does the moving, not the earth, and not anything under the earth or within it in the inner earth. So it comes down from heaven on the day of judgment, and not until, of course. Verse 6, then they shall rejoice with joy and be glad, and into the holy place shall they enter. See, they're going to enter. What's that? What's the holy place? The Holy of Holies in the Garden of Eden. That's what this has been talking about, where the tree of life still is and will continue to exist even then. Again, this is what Enoch saw when he was inside the earth. And its fragrance shall be in their bones. So he even gets the prophecy from the angel here. And they shall live a long life on earth. Again, that's Revelation and 2nd Esdras. We covered that in detail in that series. Go watch it. Such as the fathers lived, and in their days shall no sorrow or plague or torment or calamity touch them. There'll be no more sorrow, no more tears, right? I mean, that's Revelation for sure. We all know this does not happen until the day of judgment. Thus, the garden and the tree of life are still there in the end times and beyond even. See, the garden is enclosed within the earth. That's just a fact, we'll show you. And really is not even remotely a mystery. That has never been, because the very word means enclosure, you'll see. Even the definition of the word, I mean, it's right there. It's not just garden. That's not the full definition. And I don't know why so many scholars don't know better than to ignore half of the definition every time they use the word. Look at this word in Hebrew. The word is gan. Indeed, it is a garden, no doubt. We're not saying that it's not. It definitely is a garden, but It's not just a garden, it's an enclosed garden. This is huge in understanding what this is. And again, we don't understand why it seems, I don't know that we found too many scholars that seem to get this. They'll even see the concordances and still not put it together. Garden, enclosure, there you go. It is two definitions right there together, and enclosed garden even. There you go. This was enclosed, and it still is. Strong's definition, a garden as fenced. Wow. Brown Driver Briggs lexicon, enclosure first and then garden. How about that? Interesting, as in birds of enclosure, or a cage essentially. Garden as enclosure. Wow. Jacinius also, a garden protected with a fence. A garden enclosed. There you go. The language is very clear. This is not just the Garden of Eden, it is the enclosed Garden of Eden, and that's affirmed by Enoch, who went there inside the inner earth as an eyewitness, and it's also according to Genesis. So here we go. This is confirmed in Genesis 3:23 and 24. Therefore, Yahuwah Elohim sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. We'll show you scripture in a minute. That is very literal. It basically, Adam returned to the land from which he was created. You find that land, you find the land of the Garden of Eden and the land of creation all in one. Jubilees affirms that, and we'll cover that next too. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the, where? The north? No. The south? No. Above? No. Just the east of the Garden of Eden. Cherubim, that says an S there, which is inappropriate. I am is already plural. So we know it's at least two terrible angels. And a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. See, that way is important. It was in the beginning, it continues to be today, and it definitely will be after the day of judgment. Okay, so why not the north, the south, the west, even above? Well, it was not needed for the garden because the garden has one entrance on the east side only, as it is enclosed. It always has been, and there you have scripture affirming the definition, which has always been there. And even, centuries old definitions that every scholar should know and understand, and few seem to. And that's been right there all along. Let's affirm that, though. Jubilees 3:32 and 33. And on the new moon of the 4th month, Adam and his wife went forth from the Garden of Eden. How about that? And they dwelt in the land of Eldah, in the land of their creation. Wow! So, find this land, and you've actually found the land of creation, which even, by the way, makes scientific sense because you measure the origin of species by marine life, which was not wiped out in the flood. You go to the most biodiverse marine population on all of Earth, and guess where you find that? In the Philippines, in the same area, specifically in the Sulu Sea, and the Garden of Eden is right there below it within the earth. No, it's not on the bottom of the ocean floor, it's within the earth. So, now, we did find it. We proved that. Watch Solomon's Gold series. Watch Find the Garden of Eden and see for yourself. Try to debate that on this video. You're out. Sorry. Our channel, our rules. You'll be muted. And Adam called the name of his wife Eve, or actually, that's not what it says. That's a dumb English transliteration that changes the name. The word is Hava, or Hawa, really, which, by the way, when you translate from one language to the other, and all of the letters are there and sounds, you don't change the word. That's called fraud. That's not translation. The origin of Havilah, the land of Adam and Eve, named for Eve, Havilah, Havilah or Hawilah, actually means childbirth and refers to Eve's curse in the garden. So it's named for her, and she's named in that same land. How about that? And what's it known for? Gold, number one in all of history. The Philippines, yes. Pearl, number one, largest pearls on all of Earth, the Philippines. And the onyx stone, the strongest onyx and marble stone, number one on all of Earth, Romblon, Philippines. So this has been identified in Scripture all along. It's just a matter of testing it with the right criteria, which shamefully no scholar really has that we've seen. And then you have it. Where then is the Garden of Eden? Can we know this? Well, indeed we can, 100%. 100%. We have proven this so overwhelmingly, and no one can disprove it. No one. Go ahead and try if you think you can, but good luck. Do it on that series, not here on this video, because we're not going to allow it when you haven't reviewed our position. We're not giving our position. We're telling you our conclusions based on massive data that we have compiled in a 384-page book, supported by a 300-page source book, and a series of over 100 videos. There you go. The prophet Enoch left us directions to the Garden of Eden. Did you know that? Most people don't. Scholars certainly don't. No scholar that we've seen has ever bothered to actually map out Enoch's directions to see where he leads to. Can you imagine that? Directions to the Garden of Eden, and they don't even know where it leads? Now that is illiteracy at its height. So this was at around, 4,000 BC or so, before the flood, when Enoch first wrote. Imagine the oldest map of mankind, and, the illiterate academia and scholarship simply ignore it because, they don't recognize it. Well, they're dumb not to, period. I mean, they'll recognize an occult map. They have no problem with that. They recognize a map that will have characters on it that don't even exist. They have no problem with that. But, don't dare use one from the Bible and the Bible paradigm. No, you can't do that. Well, you're stupid for saying that, scholar. Let's just be clear. Until we did, we'd never seen anybody actually map these directions, which is just incredible to imagine. Now, he heads to the Arabian desert, or Mount Sinai. He was previously at the other holy mountain, Mount Zion. Now, we saw that in Jubilees, the three holy mountains, right? There's two of them. And now he's going to head to the Garden of Eden, which has the Mount of the East, which is in the Garden of Eden. That's two, but it's in one location, just so you know. We cover that in Answers in Jubilees because Jubilees makes that very clear. So that's Mount Zion, previously the holy mountain. He then heads east to another desert. What could that be? Let's see. He's in Saudi Arabia, basically in the desert. And there's another desert to the east of that. Well, there's only one on a map. It's called the Great Indian Desert. So that's pretty easy to figure out. He heads further east to the land of cinnamon. Well, that's very easy because even the Latin term true cinnamon comes from Sri Lanka to about Myanmar, that area of the world, and only that area. Get that. So somewhere in that area is where he was, probably Sri Lanka. He heads further east to the Spice Islands, which he defines by a list of spices, of course. But he tells us the whole time he was on the Erythraean Sea, which is the Indian Ocean historically. So you know he's on the Indian Ocean here. But now he says he exits the Indian Ocean. Now I'm paraphrasing, but go watch the directions. This is accurate. So basically, the Malay Peninsula is where he is exiting the Indian Ocean. And now he heads northeast. What land could be there? Well, the land of the Garden of Eden. That's called the Philippines on every credible map ever, period. Now, we cover several maps that affirm this in the video at the bottom right. Check it out. It is an awesome video. Part 11 of Answers in 1st Enoch. It's all there. And again, no one can dispute that. The best anybody has done is, oh, but that map doesn't actually say it's in the Philippines. So what? It says it's southeast of China. And what is southeast of China? Hello, dunderhead. That's called the Philippines. In the book of Jubilees, we have already well proven as Torah, as the temple priest whom Moses ordained to keep Bible canon say so. They actually label it in writing as Torah, and they use it as Torah. Now, Noah left us a map of the world, really the first world map. And Enoch's is not quite as detailed, but it's even earlier. But still, yet again, academia, I don't know. Scholars, what's a Jubilee? Neither know anything. They're clueless. And these are credible ancient maps found in the Dead Sea Scrolls with more than 2,000 years of precedence. And what scholar knows anything about them? I mean, even scholars like R.H. Charles, who even published the book of Jubilees, translated from the Ethiopic, and modern rock star scholars who go into the language and say, oh, well, that's not really it's actually a, or stuff like that. Well, it's great that they do that, but usually it's impertinent. Usually it's textual criticism, and usually it's inept at best. What they don't do is they don't bother then to map these directions. Why is that so hard? Nor understand the text, really, for that matter. You cannot understand Noah's mapping unless you map it. That's pretty simple, right? Is that really that hard? We don't think so. And it wasn't really that hard to map. The directions, it requires some research. You got to research each point. In some cases, point by point. Others are surviving references we well know. Where they are. Another part of it is just a matter of, he's heading east, so he's here, so what's east of that. And then you go and you find, oh, yes, you can affirm that's in fact the case. It's not that difficult. It just took some time. Noah defines the whole earth broken into 3 territories, which is of massive importance, yet scholars and academics, crickets. They don't know anything about it. Willing ignorance. That's what they're operating in because they ignore Jubilees, which is not very bright. Noah takes us to the garden to the east of India on the border of Shem in the far east. Now, the garden is just to the north of that border, and he leaves it at that. He defines this boundary definitively, though, when he comes back to the area in Ham's division. See, he comes across from Africa to the west, over the Atlantic, over South America, over the Pacific. Yes, in fact. All the way to the border of Shem, which is Asia, indisputably. He names many places, still easy to identify, all along the routes. And he comes just to the right, or east, of the Garden of Eden on Shem's border. That's what he says. But in Shem's is where the garden is, not Ham's. He's in Ham's definition right now, so he won't enter Shem's. So he won't get to the Garden of Eden. He's to the right of it, to the east of it, right? So then he heads a little south, just a very little, which is exactly what he did in his directions from the east. He goes a little north to get to the Garden of Eden. Now he goes just to the east, to the right of the garden, and he goes down. And right there, then he goes to west into the Indian Ocean, which is obviously the Indian Ocean. And we find a word there, atel, which does exist in Bengali as a term and makes sense that it would. Hello, duh, is the Indian Ocean. Whether that ever gets firmly connected or not doesn't matter because the directions, duh, are Indian Ocean next, right? So Noah defines that border right there as pictured as bounded by all the mountains of fire. No, not all volcanoes, that couldn't possibly be, not even the Ring of Fire, which falls in all 3 brothers' territories. So he can't be doing that because the garden has to be in Shem's. It can't be in all 3, and it can't be that large. He mentions it in Indonesia. That there is, that's where he is at that point. He went to the garden, went a little south, and now he's taken his jaunt into the Indian Ocean. So he at that point is in essentially Indonesia. And what's in Indonesia? Well, it just so happens that they call their 147 volcanoes Gunung Gunung Api in Javanese, which in English is mountains of fire. There you go. Noah named them. And that splits Borneo right there. Two nations split at that same point, that same boundary that Noah drew thousands of years ago. How about that? Sabah is claimed part of Malaysia, but actually historically belongs to the Philippines even. But from there you head north just a little, and the directions in both ways are very clear that's the case. And there you are. There's the Garden of Eden. It's within the earth, but it's below that land. It's just below the Sulu Sea and Visayas. There you go. Philippines. Wow. Now, we cover tons of maps that affirm this all the way through thousands of years. Watch the series and see for yourself. Attempt debate on this video of that having not reviewed, forget about it. It's not happening. Our channel, our rules. So indeed, folks, we can put together the orientation of the earth. And if you don't think that's important, well, don't pretend you're in relationship with Yahusha, because certainly you cannot be and take any part of his word and demean it. That is a childish ploy, and don't try it here. Again, you really have to review our full position because we certainly prove it. So much so, no one has been able to disprove it in over 6 years now, and they will not. Watch our Rivers from Eden series and find the Garden of Eden series. So well done. Within there are also videos such as, is the Garden of Eden still there? That's important. We're not going to have a video. We've been doing that with the firmament and other things. We're not going to do it with the garden because we've already done it. Go watch that video there. Scripture says unequivocally, yes, it's still there, even after the day of judgment when it's reopened and the tree of life reopened to mankind once again, the righteous who remain. Even in Revelation, it's right there. Watch it. And some ask, well, how did the garden survive the flood, right? I mean, the whole earth was flooded. Yeah, the garden is within the earth with one entrance that's guarded by angels, right? Who certainly can stop water from coming in. But even bigger, there's scriptures. The Bible's not silent on that either. And the answers are right there for all of us in Scripture that affirm that as well. Watch that video. Now, this is awesome. And watch the 2 series we pointed for you as we prove out what we just covered in brief, and very brief here. We really didn't get into detail. What we're trying to do in this video is characterize the Garden of Eden so you understand what it is and its significance. And then you'll want to find where it is because the Holy of Holies is there, and it's still there, folks. That's huge. No one will disprove those series. No way. 6 years, no one's touched it, and they're not going to. The Philippines is the land of the Garden of Eden and creation, known since the most ancient of times, since creation, in Genesis 2, in Enoch's time, by Noah, and this was not really a mystery for thousands of years, as this is documented so many ways we have covered already. Even Columbus knew this, and that's where he wanted to go, though he never made it that far. This completes day 3 of creation, and we can't wait to get to day 4, the sun, the moon, and the stars next. This is exciting. We have over 500 videos on this channel. Wow, 500! Yeah, boy! Imagine that. Many just as profound, with some 50 or so in Tagalog for Filipinos, 6 in Spanish to start. We also have been setting up subtitles for 20+ languages for most of our videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell for notifications of new uploads. Join our email list, as YouTube, well, they just forget to notify often, conveniently, and we will notify you ourselves at thegodculture.com. Just fill in the pop-up there. We have alternative platforms for videos on Rumble, Odyssey, and Player, formerly Utreon. They've changed their name just recently. And our podcast is also available for most of our videos as well. All links in the description box. Friend us on Facebook at The God Culture, space original. If you prefer an alternative, we have Gab and Parler, though it was just bought out as well and hopefully will be up again soon. It's not right now, or at least not as the recording of this video, but links below. We have 7 books published internationally, being read in over 100 countries, and we're progressing towards our next releases very soon. We also have now launched Ophir Philippines Coffee Table book in the US, Canada, and UK, and many overseas markets on Amazon, and it is available in hardcover or softcover color, as well as softcover black and white. Additionally, we launched the Book of Jubilees, the Torah calendar with colored maps and interior, as many had requested, overseas on Amazon as well. We already have that in the Philippines with color maps, but that too is available on Amazon in color, hardcover, or softcover, and black and white softcover if you wish. All books except Bible History Illustrated are free in ebook. And that one even is available free in animation, a video on the series where we do one video with the whole thing, and we break it down into 5 separate videos as well. It's all there free of charge. Our content, folks, is free. Just go to ophirinstitute.com for all the links for your area for all of our books. More coming very soon. And check out our cool trailers next. Thank you for watching. Now always remember, prove all things for yourself. Yah bless to everyone.